Welcome to this video on the landmark Supreme Court case, Cantwell v. Connecticut, from 1940. This case explored crucial questions about religious freedom and free speech in America. The case began in 1938 when Newton Cantwell and his sons, Jehovah's Witnesses, solicited in New Haven without a state permit and played a record criticizing the Catholic Church. They were arrested for soliciting without a permit and inciting a breach of the peace. Factual background: Connecticut required a certificate of approval for religious solicitation, granting officials discretion over what counted as quote, religious. The Cantwells refused to seek a permit, played an inflammatory anti-Catholic record, and were arrested. The Cantwells were found guilty on both charges in the Court of Common Pleas. The Connecticut Supreme Court affirmed the convictions, leading the Cantwells to appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. The Cantwell family argued the permit requirement violated the Free Exercise Clause by allowing the state to define religion. They claimed their speech was peaceful, and mere offense did not justify criminal punishment. The state of Connecticut argued the Cantwells violated a neutral solicitation law designed to prevent fraud. They maintained that playing an anti-Catholic record in a Catholic neighborhood risked provoking violence, justifying state action to maintain order. Key legal arguments focused on whether state discretion over religious causes violated the Free Exercise Clause. The Cantwells claimed their peaceful speech was not incitement, and listeners' reactions alone cannot justify punishment. Top arguments for the Cantwells included prior restraint on the soul, arguing that faith should not require a permit. They also emphasized that the First Amendment protects the right to offend. The defense asserted that the permit requirement violated the Free Exercise Clause and that peaceful religious expression was not criminal incitement. Offense alone should not warrant criminal punishment for speech. Key defense witnesses included Reverend Dr. Clayton Powell Sr., who called street preaching the last remaining pulpit. Newton Cantwell himself created a dramatic moment by refusing to swear on the Bible. Reverend Powell's testimony highlighted the importance of street preaching for the poor. Mrs. Bennett's apology showed no genuine offense, and Father Kelly's testimony pointed to selective permit enforcement. Connecticut residents provided testimony about their strong negative reactions to the anti-Catholic phonograph record. They felt provoked by the highly offensive message and reported the Cantwells to the police. Reverend Dr. Powell's testimony strongly supported the Cantwells, emphasizing that unsolicited street preaching was the, quote, last remaining pulpit for the poor. This was a significant point for the defense. Mrs. Bennett initially slammed her door but apologized after realizing the recording was misheard. Her powerful testimony suggested a lack of genuine offense, aiding the defense. Father Francis Kelly, a Catholic priest, testified that his own parish bulletins were distributed without permits. He argued against selective enforcement of the permit law against the witnesses. Episcopal Bishop Dr. Stokes contributed an amicus vignette, arguing that a society needing police to regulate a hymn's volume is, quote, tone-deaf to liberty. His testimony supported the Cantwell defense. During cross-examination, Newton Cantwell defended refusing the permit, stating his ministry was mandated by God. His refusal to swear on the Bible dramatically shifted the courtroom atmosphere. The Cantwell family testified about their door-to-door preaching method, defending their refusal to obtain a permit based on their God-mandated ministry. They confirmed playing the record and offering literature. Witnesses for Connecticut included Police Sergeant Kelly, who cited public safety concerns about the long phonograph cord. Others spoke against the religion racket and argued against aggressive evangelism. Connecticut's top arguments centered on protecting the public from fraud and maintaining public order. They asserted the solicitation law was a neutral time, place, and manner rule, not a creed detector. Arresting Officer Sergeant James F. Kelly testified for the state, highlighting safety concerns. He focused on the Cantwell's long phonograph cord, claiming it was long enough to trip pedestrians. Mr. Michael Cass testified for the state, reporting that the anti-Catholic record had so enraged his mother that she fainted on the sidewalk. This testimony supported the breach of peace charge. Secretary of State John A. Danaher defended the permit statute. He argued the license was necessary to prevent religious fraud artists and check the religion racket by acting as a sieve. Dr. Wales warned against unregulated street gatherings, linking them to the spread of polio. Her testimony, dubbed the, quote, germ theory of heresy, supported the state's public safety arguments. Reverend Dr. Harold C. Phillips, a liberal minister, surprisingly sided with Connecticut. He argued that religious freedom does not include the right to, quote, hijack the nerves of a passerby. The state maintained that the Cantwells violated a generally applicable law and that the permit system protected against fraud. They argued the anti-Catholic record risked provoking violence, justifying state authority to maintain order. Mrs. Polera was a key prosecution witness. She testified about her strong negative reaction to the anti-Catholic record, supporting the conviction for inciting a breach of the peace. Mrs. Polera's testimony highlighted her feeling of being highly provoked by the anti-Catholic message. Her account was critical in supporting the breach of peace charge against the Cantwells. The trial judge found the Cantwells guilty on both charges, soliciting without a permit and inciting a breach of the peace. This conviction was later affirmed by the state Supreme Court. The Connecticut Supreme Court upheld both convictions, viewing the solicitation law as a valid exercise of police power. They found evidence supported the breach of peace charge, allowing the state to regulate actions hostile to public safety. The U.S. Supreme Court faced key questions. Did the permit requirement violate the Free Exercise Clause? Could the state charge breach of peace for religious speech? And was the record playing a threat to public order? The Supreme Court reversed both convictions. They ruled the solicitation permit requirement and the breach of peace conviction violated the First Amendment, protecting offensive religious speech. The court held that the permit requirement violated the Free Exercise Clause, giving state officials broad discretion to define, quote, religious causes constituted an unconstitutional prior restraint on religion. Specifically regarding solicitation, the court found the state officials' discretion over religious causes unconstitutional, requiring prior approval restricted protected religious conduct and violated the Free Exercise Clause. The breach of peace conviction was also reversed, protecting the Cantwells' free speech rights. The court established that offensive religious speech is protected and listener reactions alone do not justify criminal punishment. Cantwell v. Connecticut established major First Amendment protections for Jehovah's Witnesses and others. It incorporated free exercise rights and limited government discretion over religious causes and offensive speech. The lasting impact of Cantwell includes establishing the, quote, time, place, and manner test and incorporating the Free Exercise Clause. It protected offensive religious speech and restricted government authority to define religion. Future legal challenges persist in defining the boundary between offense and incitement and enforcing time, place, and manner rules. The Cantwell ruling continues to inform the clarification of free exercise protections. Thank you for watching this video on Cantwell v. Connecticut.